Let's then continue with certain observations about the occult forces in life. We saw in the previous meeting that everything that happens has an inner origin. It has an origin in what is an unknown. And we saw that we are a bridge with that unknown. And this becomes a task in life. And it's not just building that bridge as traversing it, going through it. So we come to live what's unknown. A large number of facts in our life was not planned or foreseen on the conscious level. So we do not have consciousness of having planned or even desired certain things that happen. And those things that we do not have consciousness that we planned but that happen are the ones that change the way that things go. So there is a question. It was we who planned that? Were we the ones who determined this? And if it was, in what plan did this happen? In what plane of our consciousness did this happen? Because facts apparently happen that are by chance or coincidental. As for example, you could be walking and you find a person, and it happens to be very coincidental, right? You find a book, you find a source of knowledge that you were not looking for consciously. And you, apparently by chance, you go to a place without knowing what you're doing there. And when you go there, when you reach there, it seems as if you already knew this place. It seems as if you already had been there. In these events, in these things that we cannot really explain, because even if you find that it was you who unconsciously determined, you do not know how this happened. These facts, if you observe them, they are going to have a very important role in our life, even if they seem unimportant. But if this happened suddenly, then this is very important. And if we pay attention in that point of what happens there, we will be walking much faster. And they were not programmed. They were not waited for. And they were not even desired. So where do they come from? Who determines it? Who determines it? So we verify that our life, it's a game of occult forces, of energies that we do not know, and that it's there playing, it's there happening. And we can participate of this game with more or less consciousness. So if one of these facts happens that you did not decide, you did not plan, and it happens like this, if you paid attention and try to find what is this, then you would be learning to relate with these forces. You will start learning to relate with this. And you will be perceiving what is an involutive force, what type of force is acting and playing, so that you go backwards in your evolution, and you're going to start to perceive what is an evolutive energy, an energy that is qualified, that has a good quality, energy of the superior planes of consciousness. For us to be able to have these things more clear in our consciousness, in our mind, we can even distinguish when a force is intelligent and when the force is blind and it does not have intelligence and it's only acting. We can see when an energy is divine and superior, it's pure, or when an energy is a bit more dense. We can perceive all of this, but we have to pay attention. To pay attention in a very impersonal way. This is as if those facts were not happening with us, but we're just observing those facts. Of course, to be able to feel the force in an energy, to feel the movement of a force in you, that is because it's going through you, but for you to be really able to capture what is that, it's necessary that you detach from that as if it was not happening with yourself. If not, you will mix your feeling, your thought, you will mix your reactions, your etheric reactions with that which is happening, and it will not be very, very clear. So in this field, we would have to learn to be spectators. To be an spectator of others is very easy. There's even people who become even ill out of curiosity, and they assist everything that happens with the others. It's a true illness. But if you naturally is an spectator of the other person, that's very simple. Then you become an spectator of yourself. Without identifying with what is happening in you, and to observe that as if it was a film, that it was not you who's living it. This is a very primordial work. It's a beginner's work to start to perceive those occult forces in life, the occult forces in the world, because they are not so apparent at times in their intentions. And those forces, even if they sometimes produce physical effects and they produce noises, they can even produce unwellness, they can produce atmospheric changes. Those forces can produce changes which are visible, but they themselves are not invisible. Normally, you don't see a force. You only see them when they are acting. And in a certain way, you feel it, you perceive it. But it is not visible. As most of the things which are here on the physical plane, as these forces are visible. Before we start this work of being very vigilant to what is occult, to be vigilant to that which we don't see, to those things which many times we don't know where they come from, because it's necessary a lot of help from the inner side of life for you to be able to perceive where does a force come from, a force that is acting here, what's its origin, from where did it come from. You need a help from the inner planes of life, because that force is in the inner planes of life. So you need a help from those levels, a help from those planes, for you to be recognizing those things. Those things, you don't recognize them with an analytical mind, because in your own analytical mind, there are diabolic forces there, many times. And those forces that play in the analytical mind make you understand, the forces in general as they wish, if they are conducting you already, if they're already doctrinating you for that end, the objective that they have. So what is occult for us is a mystery. Now, mystery does not mean that it's always going to be a mystery. it's not always, it's not going to remain always this mysterious. When you penetrate a mystery, when you understand a force, or if you are very innerly helped and you understand where it came from, if you are even more helped and you understand what does this force want, what does it want to do, this needs an inner help. This has nothing to do with the mind. When we talk about occult things, we're not talking about the mind, in not even a moment. This is not to become an observer or to be analytical or to be intelligent. No, it has nothing to do with this. This is a different thing. It's a different field. It's a different sector. It's a perception that comes from a different region and does not come from the mental plane. It exists also on the mental plane. It plays on the mental plane. It's constructing or destructing things also on the mental plane. But the mental plane is only this. It's only the scenario. It's only the field where it's happening. So this is why it's not with the mind that you're going to be able to understand these things. You are only going to be able to perceive where does it come from up to a certain point. You will be able to perceive up to a certain point what does they want. What are they wanting? Is when you relatively become a contemplative being. To contemplate is the opposite to act. It's not very simple to define a person who contemplates, but we soon see at a certain point when we know that it's the opposite of being active. Active here, outside, to be active also mentally. So it's necessary to have an inner help, very special for us to reach that point of contemplation. And contemplating, you will perceive, up to a certain point, certain mysteries. You will be able to perceive, but it's only through contemplation. So this is for you not to fool yourself. Contemplation, it's something that somebody else, a voice or something else tells you what's happening. Contemplation is not something from outside that comes to your inner ears to tell you and explain you something. That's not contemplation. That's a different gift. It's a different resource. That's not contemplation. In contemplation, there's nothing that explains you anything or defining anything. In contemplation, you are in front of something, and you're in front of that, and you know what you need to know about that. No more, no less. So in front of the mystery, in front of the occult things that you do not know where they come from and what they want, it's only contemplation. Because if not, you are risking to understand in your way. And it can also be right at a certain plane, at a certain level. On the level of your comprehension, that could be right. Because you already have experience and you analyze, you observe, you reach your conclusions, and you could even be positive, and it could even be good. But if you understand by your experience, if you understood, guided by your experience, your intelligence, your capacity, by your sensibility, then you understood only a small portion. So you think that you understood. But there's a long way from the true source of that. The source of that is not material. The source of that force is not material, it's not matter. So for you to be able to be in front of that in a more clear way, you need to count on a plane from you that is not material, that is your inner plane, that can be in front of that with a certain equality. With a certain equality, because they are not two forces which are equal. So it truly means that if we want to be in front of the sea of occult forces, which is life, if we want to remain there, and I'm not saying about navigating, because navigating, it's a term that means that you are just there taking your time. But if you want to be there in a very alive way, in a very lucid way, and collaborating with that force, or not collaborating with that force, if you're going to be there in a more neutral way, without collaborating, without not collaborating, you're going to be there in a neutral way. For that, you need contemplation. You need to be looking at a certain area in you where there's nothing written. Because if you go inside of you and you find something that's written, that was your experience, that was registered there, and that you're using in that moment. You're using, and you need to use it, mainly with the positive experiences, those which are favorable, which are the ones that you had been something that you learned. But contemplation is not that. Contemplation is something you're looking to nothing. You're looking at the void inside of you. You come to see nothing, emptiness, the white, and there find something. So we cannot describe contemplation. We can talk about these things, but for you to know what is and to live this, you need to go through it. You need to live it. So if we want to be in front of that which is occult, with union, feeling this unity, feeling this firmness, to be present in front of which is occult, it needs that you not look at those occult in your way of perceiving, but that you are in front of that in a different way. And for that, we need to have a lot of intention of reaching that point. We need a total lack of anxiety, of desire, of ambition. You want to reach there because you need to reach. And because everybody needs to reach there. Everything needs to reach there, to that unity, to that contemplation. Well, we marked here that we needed to talk a little bit about the center of mystery, because we are talking about our relationship with mystery, with the occult forces of life. Everything that we say, everything, we are searching a relationship with the mystery. And we would have to see a little bit the center of the mystery. What we call the center of the mystery is the nucleus of the consciousness that imprints a certain archetype that comes from a cosmic point, that comes from a cosmic sign, comes from a cosmic vortex. So there's a point in your consciousness that can be in front of that. And that is what we call the center of mystery. It's for you to have that center in your consciousness where you're going, and there you realize what's occult. The construction of the center of mystery in us, that construction, this gets processed and is happening in the inner nuclei of the souls, in those inner nuclei between the souls, is there where it gets constructed, where the center gets constructed, that is constructing this consciousness. In past times in antiquity, this existed on the physical plane. On the physical plane, there was something that we used to call the center of mysteries. And of course, that in those centers of mystery that existed on the physical plane, there were beings who were instructors, and they had discovered already and they had understood certain mysteries. So, if there were already beings who were more intimate of these mysteries, they formed a center of mystery, and they had students. They had beings who would come there to be formed in this practice. This does not exist anymore in this way. That came out of the physical plane. The center of mysteries came out of the physical plane. The center of mysteries dematerialized and went into the inner planes. So the same thing that would happen on the physical plane, with instructors on the physical plane, with students on the physical plane, with experiences on the physical plane, all of this became interiorized. It went inside. And now this work is on the level of the souls. It's done on the level of the souls. And for that reason, it became it grew very much. If we could know what was taught and what happened in that center of mysteries, of those on the physical plane, if we were able to see what happens in a center of mystery today, there is no comparison. Because the center of mysteries today, this is in a group of souls that are united, gathered, a group of souls that are prepared to serve together, to serve which is unknown. What is going to happen there? In the terms of teaching, in the terms of information, it can even transcend our galaxy. It's a bit different. In a center of mysteries on the physical plane, you could have a lot of news, a lot of information, up to a certain limit. Up to the limit of that epoch. Because karmically, it would only be permitted up to a certain point on that time. But the center of mysteries today, the group of souls today, has a projection, has a field much broader. A group of souls, a group of inner beings who are united to study the mystery or to be in front of the mystery, learning with it. This is a group of study today, a type of group of study. So, to be learning with the mystery, you can have the possibility. You could have the possibility to reach with one of your bodies, because each one of us has 7 bodies. And you could reach with one of your bodies to contact areas of the consciousness that we call even intergalactic. But all of this is with the consciousness. And all of this is a part of the center of mysteries today. The inspiring source of this work, the inspiring source of these studies, it's none of us who's directing all of this topic. The inspiring source, it's not on a level, on a human level. This inspiring source, it's not on the level of the consciousness of the consciousness of those who are participating today, of that study, who are participating of that work. The inspiring source lies in more sublime levels of consciousness. Sublime means immaterial. Immaterial and totally undefined. And those are the sublime sources which are not identified or recognized in any of us, because if it were, then it was not a divine or sublime source. It's our superior source who's manifesting that. The sublime source is not a person, it's not anyone. The sublime source is not an individual, is not a soul, is not even any monad. The sublime source is not a regent, is not an avatar. The sublime source is not a person, is not anyone. Is with this sublime source that we should search to come in contact. And of course, that we, with all our being, from the conscious level up to the most inner levels, if it was united and searching the sublime source, this is when we are going to start to elevate, to delocate gradually, to stop identifying with everything that is illusion, with everything that is impermanent. So everything that is life that we know, we need to elevate from all of it for us to come in contact, to come into a path that is completely unknown, which previously we used to call it the initiatic path. It was truly an initiatic path because all of this was even described in its different phases, in its different stages. But here it is not more an initiatic path, because who recognizes that you need to do this other path of the unknown is because in already made in part this initiatic path. Otherwise you would not be searching for these things. You would be searching the expansions of consciousness that you can have in an orderly way. But today, inside this different type of time which is coming close to us, because we have a certain time that we know, and we are inside the material time. This meeting started at 5, and this meeting is going to end at 6. This is the material time. And inside this material time, things developed in a certain order, material order. But while this material time is happening, while it's running from 5 to 6, there's another time that doesn't go through. It's another time where things are also happening in a different rhythm. So, from 5 to 6 of our material time, what can happen in this other time? We don't know. It's a mystery. But that something's happening in the other time is happening. So you need to see what type of search of the mystery do we want to do. If we want to search the mystery here on the material time, if we want to know what happens here, or if we are in front of the mystery in a different way. No, I'm in this material time, I'm inside these material happenings, events, I'm inside my material consciousness, I am all in the material time. I'm inside this material universe, I'm inside the material cosmos, everything there. The mystery is to see the other time, which is not material. Is another time, is a different time, that for us is the real time. Because this time is not real. This time, it says that you are old, and in the same system of time, says that your soul is young. So you have a young soul in an old body. It's the contrary. So it's a time that is all mixed. And that sometimes you're more linked with an ingredient than with another. And the mystery for us all is the real time. The mystery for us all is the other time that has nothing to do with the clock, has nothing to do with movements of the earth around the sun, has nothing to do with the process of the universe walking through this infinite sea. The real time has nothing to do with these things. So the mystery for us is the real time. How is the real time? What is it? Is it an occult? It's an occult field. It's an occult side. For all the levels of this material time in which we exist. In those centers of mystery, in those meetings of souls, you search this real time. You search this reality. In the time of the center of mysteries here on the physical plane, the students would receive certain symbols, and they will stay in front of those symbols, some at the beginning unable to understand them with their minds, but they will receive a stimuli from the instructors to be unveiling those symbols. So that was the center of mystery in that time. And for those who had a certain evolutive level, they would understand those symbols that were presented on the physical plane. Now, this comes back, is coming back to us in a different round of the evolutive spiral. So now, we have to be, or we will be, in front of symbols, but not in the same way as before, as in the old time. We will be in front of symbols, and we will see how we're going to penetrate them, how we're going to understand them, how we're going to use them. This is a path that is open for us. And of course, that if we did not have incarnations, previous incarnations in Greece, if we didn't have previous incarnations in Middle East, if we didn't have previous incarnations in India or in the East, if we did not have previous incarnations in which we studied, in which we penetrated these things, it's going to be completely new. It could be there deposited in our essence, because the essence is unique, is one, but this has to bring the light today, and it's going to apparently be a new thing for us when it comes to emerge. And we would have to perceive how this is going to present itself. We will have to see and be vigilant not to waste the opportunity, because sometimes things present for us and we do not perceive that they are there. So it's necessary that we stay vigilant, because we have been warned that the work with symbols is coming back. So it needs that, since we have been warned, we have to be attentive, we have to pay attention and to see how this is going to present itself. We do not have to create expectations. It's going to present itself in the way that would be the most adequate for us. So we have to just be open, we have to be available, to be in front of something apparently new, because apparently we did not come into contact with it in our essence, so in our conscious it's going to be new, but in the way that it presents itself that is the way which becomes the entrance door. It appears as a mystery, but we need to liberate ourselves of definitions to this point. Today, we already defined too much things. We need to liberate ourselves from definitions and to be open for something that we consciously is new, and to be in front of that mystery in a calm way, contemplating, without criticisms, without judgments, without evaluations, without thought, to be in front of that in a very simple way, neutral, impersonal, white. White, in this sense, is the synonym of nothing. Is to be there. Let's not waste this opportunity, because the symbols today for us are going to become the door to be in front of the mystery as it can present itself today, as it can express today for us, as it can teach us today. The centers of mystery disappeared from the face of the earth. They are on the inner planes. They are on the level of the soul. And on the level of the soul, it's going to descend to our mind. Because we're not going to stop having a mind. Our mind is going to continue. Our mind is a circumstance. And we have to deal with it today. The mind exists and it's there. So the center of mystery, with all of this, which it contains for us, for humanity, is descending, and goes penetrating our more intuitive level, because it's further than our intuitive level. It goes penetrating our intuitive level. It goes penetrating our mind. If our mind is receptive, open, free, without all those dense things that occupy space, without complicated desires, up to a certain point, you will see that the mind is going to even have to disappear the desire to see that, and then it can descend even more easily to the mind. But we will have to prepare for that mystery. Everything that I said until now, it may not be correct, may not be exact. It's only to tell you to be vigilant, because something is going to happen, something that is not from this time, something that is from the real time, and it's going to penetrate all these layers, and it's going to reach a certain level, a certain height, and we have to be open for that. We have to be very simple to be able to perceive this. Here it's also included our relationship with other humanities. It's included our relationship with the extraterrestrial humanity, our relationship with the interterrestrial humanity is included as well. They're all our brothers in other planes of consciousness, in other levels of reality, in other levels of matter. And to be able to come in contact with this, we need a symbolic path. A path that is not a path that we know. It's the path of the symbols. A symbol takes you to another, it takes you then to another. And you are in front of the symbols, you are working these symbols. And each symbol, it's a step for you to reach with your consciousness, to reach Mistitlan, to reach Erx, to reach Aurora, to reach Liz, to reach Iberá, to reach Anutea. And this is with this walking, with these steps that we take. And so if it is as if we have reached the time for to truly live that which we learned theoretically, that we learned intellectually, that we learned through our studies, now the time came to start living this. This is the time now. Suddenly, at a certain stage of this living, we're going to find ourselves in a different time. We're going to find ourselves in the real time, which is not this. Here we get old, here we die, here we're born, here we transform. In the real time, nothing of this happens. So the symbols, they are not like the ones from the time of the material mysteries in the physical plane. These are symbols that get formed as we create them as well. But we create them linked with the true artists of divinity. Artists that work for the divinity. It has nothing to do with the artists here. Let's not search in the dictionary because artist is nothing of this. These are artists of divinity. They are the creators of that which is the divine plan. And the divine plan indicates to them what is to be manifested. So in this real time, we can be really creating, but creating with real time. And it's not us, the creators. On the real time, you are creating with the real time. It's one thing. The whole thing is just one thing. And the study of the symbols as how it's going to be presented in this opportunity that we are having, it's something that is going to take us in the direction to live these things, which is not any direction that we know. If you're going to ask, where is it going to take me? Who says that it knows is lying or did not understand anything. So this is truly, for us, today, a mystery. This is really, for us, something occult, something that is in front of us. It's already in front of us. It's around us. It's there. If it wasn't there, we couldn't be talking about this. But it is here. So we are in front of something truly occult. And we're going to see how we are in front of the reality which is known, which is the reality, the physical reality, etheric, emotional, mental, spiritual reality. Let's see how we are in front of all of this to be able to enter through this door that is being opened for us in a different time. We had been talking a little bit before that in the old mysteries, there was always an instructor, there was always someone. And now we are going to describe an experience in which we see how it touches us today. This is an experience between a very spiritual person and Father Pio. When Father Pio was incarnated, this very spiritual being said the following: I was sitting near the sacristy, waiting for him to pass through here in his path to pray the Mass. After 15 minutes of waiting, I suddenly heard from Gloria audience an inner angelic choir singing happily a song of triumph, victory, and power. Immediately after, Father Pio came into the room, and I immediately associated the experience, the psychic experience that I was having, with the influence of his aura over mine. Do you perceive? So here, there's no more a school of concepts. There is no instructor in the school of concepts. There is an instructor that goes through. I'm going to read again. I was sitting in the sacristy waiting for him to go through in his way to pray Mass. After 15 minutes that I was waiting, I suddenly heard through Claudio audience an inner angelic choir singing happily a song of triumph, victory, and power. Immediately after, Father Pio came into the room, and I associated this psychic experience with the influence of his aura over mine. So we cannot consider teachers of anybody, because now the way to be taught is different. The way to teach is different. So for us to know, so we're not going to consider ourselves teachers of anybody, because today we are teaching in a different way. And for us not to think that this is done in a very theatrical, on a very solemn way, see what happened later. Father Pio was celebrating Mass in a state of semi-trance, with his consciousness turned inwards. And later on, when he was returning to his particular dwellings, I was introduced to him by his secretary. And he patted me very affectionately in my back. He smiled and blessed me. And he left for his room. And it finished.